Do you know the secret, deep meaning behind the top Espada? Nnoitra, Ulquiorra, Halibel, Barragan and Starrk. You probably knew that they're all an aspect of death, but it goes way deeper than that. You probably didn't know that this aspect of death also determines their death, and their aspect of death leads to their salvation. It's super poetic, kind of abstract, but I'll make it clear with the first one. Nnoitra's aspect of death is despair. And yes, one aspect of it is the despair that opponents feel when they cannot cut him because he's so strong, that they feel when he resurrects and grows extra arms. But the bigger aspect to Nnoitra's aspect of death being despair is his own despair. His despair at trying to be meaningful. He feels like he has no meaning, so he wants to be seen, he wants to be recognized, and in order to be seen and recognized, he feels like he has to die a meaningful death. He feels like only death can validate his life. Only death can give him meaning. That's actually super sad if you think about it. And Nnoitra believes that the most meaningful death is to be strong and then fall in combat against a stronger opponent and to be dead before you even hit the ground. It's super sad because Nnoitra cannot see that his life has meaning on its own without the need of him dying. But in the end, he gets what he needs. He gets a meaningful death because he dies against a strong opponent in combat. Ulquiorra's aspect of death is emptiness. He feels nothing. He basically doesn't know what emotion is, so he definitely doesn't know what this human term we call having heart is. He doesn't understand it, and in his opinion, if he can't see it, if he can't perceive it with his own eyes, it doesn't exist. So what is this heart? What is that? Ulquiorra eventually, through Urime, is on a quest to find out what heart really is. Symbolically, in his first battle with Ichigo, he punches him through the heart and leaves Ichigo empty like Ulquiorra is, because he takes his real heart away and thus symbolically erases the intangible heart, or so he thought. Because Ichigo then proves what heart is by showing up again. Despite being utterly defeated, he shows up again. He has the heart to take Ulquiorra on again, and this time he defeats him. And in his death, or rather in his final moments, as he reaches out to Urime, but can't because his hand crumbles, he finally realizes what heart is. So his aspect of death, emptiness, led him to find out what emotion, what heart is. And in his death, he finally found the answer, but sadly, couldn't do anything with it anymore because that heart he found, you can't use it when you're dead. Halibel's aspect of death is kind of the most tragic. It's sacrifice. And she gets stronger when others make the sacrifice play. She gets stronger when Yamamoto defeats her faction, and even her attacks get stronger. With each failed attack, the next attack becomes a stronger one. So she's all about sacrifice. And in the end, it turns out that she herself was just a sacrificial pawn for Aizen to be used until she's not powerful to be used anymore, as he cuts her down. Her aspect of death, sacrifice, granted her power, and in the end, when she couldn't grant Aizen any more power, she herself became a sacrifice. Barragan's aspect of death is aging, and he tragically, ultimately ages himself to death. But the tragedy started much sooner, when the old Barragan was subjugated by the young Aizen. As is his aspect of death, aging, Barragan's downfall was all a result of all age. Yet even in the end, Barragan cannot accept his fate, and he believes that through his hatred for Aizen, he will continue to live on forever until he takes Aizen down. Very sad, very poetic. In number 1 Espada, Starrk. His aspect of death is isolation. And this isolation, this loneliness, led him to join the Espada. He was seeking companionship. He split his soul into parts just to have a companion, but that was still kind of himself. So he was seeking companionship. He sought out Aizen's companionship. He sought out the Espada's companionship. Yet then, in his battle, his aspect of death strikes, and he feels isolated. He feels lonely again once he realizes that Aizen doesn't care about the death of any of the Espada. So him joining Aizen, him finding companionship, him no longer being alone, it was all a lie. There was no truth to it, and he almost gives up the will to fight. But in his defeat, he then realizes that Aizen's recognition is meaningless because he wasn't alone. He was standing with all the other Espada. He was fighting for a common cause. He was fighting for Hueco Mundo. He wasn't alone. He was standing next to his brothers and sisters. So in his death, he realized that he's no longer isolated. He's no longer lonely. But he died. If you want to hear and see me do the same thing for the first 5 Espada, including Grimjow, I have a video on that on my channel, so that's in the top comment. Visit the channel, you'll find it. And if you like what I do here, please do consider hitting that follow button, because I do these mythological, historical backgrounds for anime and manga every single day. And if you follow, then I'll see you tomorrow. Alright?